Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the SirLinksalot podcast. I'm your host, Artemis, and I'm going to be bantering today with SirLinksalot founder, Nick Altimore. Today, we're going to be talking about something that is extremely hot in the actually everywhere space right now, but it's also something that a lot of people have some conflicting thoughts about. So I'm going to be picking Nick's brain and maybe throwing out a few nuggets of my own opinion while we're at it on artificial intelligence, or AI for short. So, in general, in the SEO world, there's been a lot of hullabaloo about AI, and a lot of people seem really frustrated by the changes in the AI landscape, particularly around things like no click searches or people losing traffic to their own websites. Right now, what is your stance after seeing all of this commotion about it for the past, I want to say maybe year or so? Would you say it's been like the biggest hot topic?
Yeah, maybe in the SEO community, like even up to like 2 years ago, where it really started coming out of the woodwork. I remember the first conference I was at where Robert Niechol, Polish guy, very high level thinker, high level SEO, gave a presentation on AI that I found, astounding. And that I think was like the beginning of really me seeing everything take off. So yeah, that was probably about 2 years ago.
Gotcha. What was the presentation about? Was it specifically about AI and SEO, or was he just talking about it in general?
He was doing high level manipulation based on programmatic SEO, building like hundreds of thousands of pages within a month that were targeting random things, but actually get like, at the time where this was all real experimental, you could get stuff to rank. But, thinking about it from like a search engineer kind of perspective. So like the people that would put Google together, right? Like he's breaking these concepts down and he was using AI to manipulate search traffic. Really, really cool stuff. I remember at the time I watched that, and it just like after the fact, I felt so recharged. I was like, dude, I need to be on this train. This is exciting. This is really cool. Because quite honestly, like when I first got into SEO, it was all the shortcuts that I really like to explore,
Right.
the low effort, and not to say that it's low effort, but the lower effort, manipulative kind
Yeah.
of tactics, and this kind of revived that. It was really cool. Things
Gotcha.
don't quite work the same anymore, but yeah, it hit.
That's interesting because your first exposure to AI is something that you consider like a super positive experience. But I think for a lot of people in this space, their first exposure to AI, including myself, is people like freaking out over it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for me personally, I started off with like super skeptical feelings about it because literally everything that I saw about it was a criticism of it. And honestly, I can't say they weren't valid criticisms, like AI in things like art, for instance, taking
Sure.
away something as superhuman as, creating beautiful things and then outsourcing that, the stuff we actually want to do, to AI. That was like
Mm-hmm.
my biggest exposure because I'm a very artsy person. I don't
Right.
make art. I just respect art and everyone who can do it properly because I cannot.
Your
So
life is art, Artemis. You're living your life as art. Yeah.
putting that on my LinkedIn profile literally right now. Literally everybody in my general vicinity is some kind of creator. They're creating art, they're creating music. So seeing
Mhm.
those things kind of be taken over, or AI getting to the point where they can convincingly make something profitable in those mediums, everybody who I surround myself with was like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? But
Right.
then I started getting more into like the technical space with like my career. And so I see a lot of marketing people speaking about AI in this very almost, I don't want to say an opportunistic way, but they're feeling like looking forward to it, like, oh, we can do this now, we have less effort with this now we can spend more time on things that actually matter, sort of deal. And I started kind of shifting my thoughts towards it. I
Yeah.
want to know kind of where you squarely stand right now. Like, are you somewhere in between, or are you like yay AI, or are you like fuck AI?
I am now somewhere in between, and if I'm being honest, the further we go down this rabbit hole, and the less narrow my scope is on the concept of AI, right? Like this was 2 years ago. I'm at a conference. Like I was really excited about the concept because I could use it for work. That's a narrow scope. As things have kind of broadened out and I've gotten more of a view on what's going on and how this technology is going to be used or how it's being used, I'm not gonna lie, I would love to be able to just go out to a farm somewhere, turn off my Wi-Fi, and abstain from a good amount of this. I think AI is a valuable tool. I think it has a lot of potential to help a lot of people, but at the same time, I, like you, value creativity pretty much above all else.
Mm.
I'm worried about what it's kind of doing to the human spirit, right? Like, and not to go too far down the rabbit hole, I'm kind of worried about what it does to like the concept of just like spirituality in general, like how we go about our lives, kind of, like I said, living is art. This will kind of like shift things. And if you get too comfy, or if you build a whole new generation of people that don't know how to exist without this stuff, we're going into a completely new reality. And I don't know. It's weird because like I just finished a graphic novel last night called The Chosen One, which kind of dives into this stuff. From like
Okay, what's it about?
it's like Satan and Jesus are like reincarnated to in like the current timeline, where they play into certain ideas, like the microchips, that everybody's going to be chipped, and like the concept that that's going to displace this concept of individuality, yada yada, and
So
like
like Feed, but with Jesus.
yeah, and like I'm not a religious person or anything, like, to be honest, but like it was an interesting story. Like, it's not the best story, but it had some like fun takes in it. And I'm going, a lot of this like dystopian future I am kind of worried about, especially having a son and stuff. I'm like, I don't want him to be a robot, and seeing
Yeah,
the rise
yeah.
of some of these companies, and like the developments they're making, and like what they're focused on. I don't know if I want to like mention any of them, because I don't know if we should be going down that rabbit hole. But like,
No lawsuit.
dude, well, I don't even think they care. They're so big, and like everything is in such motion that but it's playing to like a dystopian future, at least in my mind. And maybe I'm just like being too negative about stuff. I don't know, but I'm pretty concerned about a lot of it.
Yeah. I don't think it's you being negative. I think that it's you kind of being realistic, because when you think about it, there's been technological advancements before, like the internet. When the internet came out, everyone was like, what the fuck is the internet? Like
Right.
another one, Photoshop, right? A
Mhm.
lot of people were heavily against people using Photoshop to improve their images or even alter
Sure.
images in any way, because they like didn't understand it. I feel like AI supersedes like all of that. I
It
feel
does.
like this can actually alter a lot of the ways
Mhm.
that everybody does everything. And you were talking about kind of like the loss of spirituality, but I'll take it like one step further and
Mhm.
say that it could be contributing to the loss of our capacity to think in general. So, being spiritual or being like philosophical is up here
Yeah.
with thinking, but even with like basic stuff to where you're trying to use your brain capacity to write a paper, for instance.
Yep.
There are studies now, and I don't know how reliable these studies are. I don't know what the sample size was, and I know that wasn't a very long study in general, so take this with a grain of salt.
Mhm.
It said that people are using like way less of their brain who use ChatGPT for an extended period of time,
Yeah, I
and
saw it too.
because they don't need to. Again, I don't know the credibility of that study. I'm a little bit skeptical about it because, how long have you been using ChatGPT for it to like wear away your brain function, like seek help? But,
Mhm.
there is something to explore there.
Jumping off that a little bit, I mean, like, it was just yesterday. I mean, like, my kid and I were walking the dog, and we run into my neighbors. They're both one's still a professor, a philosophy professor. I live in a college town, and she's still doing that. We talk about AI quite a lot. Now, her and her husband are really interesting in that they like still don't have cell phones. So they don't have cell phones, will not get a cell phone, which I kind of admire, to be honest with you. But
I'm
she's
scared.
yeah, she's continually telling me, and they never had a cell phone too. This is like something they abstained from the very beginning, right? So like, just to put like their thought process in perspective. But she says that even yesterday she was talking about how students are completely relying on AI to do a decent amount of like their research, if nothing else, or to do a lot of their work for them. And so like there is a noticeable dumbing down like as far as student culture. She goes, with peers it's a little easier because you're like, you need AI to typical academic, like holier than thou kind of stuff, but like you need AI to do that. And so like people get ashamed. But with the students, this is what they're doing. And I think back on it, I'm like, I hated college. I hated it. I just needed to get my piece of paper and get out of there. Had AI been available, oh, I would have been the
It would
worst
have been
about it.
over.
I would have been so bad about it. But I guess, looking at it from that perspective, I don't think I would have ever stopped, venturing out on my own to pursue my own little creative outlets, or like, reading random things that I found interesting and applying them to life, etc. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, it seems like there is a whole new motion to kind of rely on AI to get a lot of this stuff done. And yeah, AI is prone to some severe issues, when you
Oh, yeah.
rely on
I
it.
think that's the biggest problem, right? Is that
Mhm.
if it were at a point where you could actually rely on it for stuff, I wouldn't find it as alarming. I mean, yeah, it's still alarming
Mhm.
because, ever since COVID in general, like the quality of education with youth has just been going downhill. They're
Dude.
having issues with focusing and stuff like that. I don't have any children, but I've seen the children, I'm around the children, and
Yeah.
the children aren't okay. They're going through some stuff. So with
Yeah,
AI
dude.
in general, it makes me wonder how much of that is something that humans would have found a way to try to circumvent anyway. Like, for
Mhm.
example, I know a woman who, now keep in mind, she's not stupid. She's fine. She speaks like 4 languages. She's like a functioning member of society and she has a good job.
Mhm.
But she cheated her way through college. Every step of the way, she paid some random person to do her essays,
Oh,
to do
wow.
her assignments. I've never met anybody with more money than this woman. So
Interesting.
for context. And I mean, she's doing fine. I don't know if she's still outsourcing, her
Mhm.
labor, but she's doing okay. And you wouldn't talk to her and think like, wow, this is the stupidest person I've ever met. It makes me wonder how many of those kids are just using a cheaper version of her strategy for passing college.
Yeah, it could be. And I think that's actually like, I don't remember which culture it was, but like there was a oh gosh, I guess like a tribe that I remember reading about where like cheating was kind of encouraged. It was, don't get caught or you've screwed up. But if you can, then cheating is a tool that you would utilize to get ahead, right? Which I
I
thought was
I
kind of interesting.
I've been
But
to
going
some countries where I feel like that could be the mindset for like everybody.
yeah, I know a couple too that I've been to where I'm like, damn it, dude, I had to learn things the hard way when
Again.
I first arrived there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty funny. Going back to like, the data that you're talking about like part of our brains being turned off, etc. I do believe it. Because like you even look at just social media in general, like the concept of brain rot, if you're familiar with that, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
all of this is, your mind is, I mean, it's something that needs to be exercised. It's something that needs to be, you need to give it volatility. You need to go through these motions to get it continually working, right? If you're relying on other stuff to do everything for you, and then you're not really putting any effort towards anything after. So like the woman you're talking about, sure, she probably cheated at certain things, but like I doubt she hopped on like a shooter video game right after and played for 6 hours while scrolling, Instagram's memes, right? Like,
Right.
however, now we've got a whole generation where that is a way of life. Like going
It's like
back
the
another,
brain rot loop. It's like you use ChatGPT for your assignments and you go home
yes,
and then you watch AI TikTok videos and then the
turn
circle of life.
off, and
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's it. I I had another neighbor, they're not here now, but he had a kid in college here. It's his grandson, and he was talking about how this kid like doesn't want to drive because it makes him too nervous at, age like 19, 20. Sits in his room when he's not at school playing video games all day, yelling at the games and stuff like that. Doesn't really have like a social network outside of that. And I don't know his take on AI, but my guess is it's not really like a priority to be, and it's, again, this is an assumption, but I just feel like there's a commonality with younger generations that I talk to where like, yeah, there is a brain rot loop. And it's probably something that's pretty hard to get out of if you've been indoctrinated from the very beginning with like these kinds of concepts. So like give it another 10, 20 years. What are these generations going to look like?
Oh, they're going to be in trouble. Like you said, it's so much easier to start off with something that is, more difficult and then allow your life to get easier based off of kind of like the products of your life, your labor in general, rather than to start off with this brain rot loop and then learn how to make something out of
Right.
yourself from not having that. Like you just don't have the tools at that point. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So that's why, like, even in my own career, I am so insanely glad that I started off at an agency where I learned literally a little bit of everything with every
Sure.
marketing modality. And I was able to like niche into the stuff that I actually like SEO and social media and email and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if I didn't do that, I'm trying to think if I started off in like one in-house company and then had to learn everything else from there and then like maybe got thrown into an agency environment and then had to figure out how to make it work. I don't know if I would have been able to do that. I just don't think I would have had the tools that I got from being at an agency. You know what I mean?
Completely. Yeah. It's going to be funny when 20 years down the road, there's the cyborg humans looking back at what we said here, calling us simple ignoramuses, right? And I hope that is the case, right? But I'm kind of like you, where I'm just not sure that's the direction
I
we're
mean,
heading
I feel
in,
like if there's like a scale of like optimism in general, I feel like you're normally pretty high up there. You normally have a very
Mm,
like positive mindset about stuff. So if you're just kind of like, look, I'm nervous, I can trust that you're coming from a place of at the very least some kind of evidence-based informed opinion, not just saying that out of like your fifis. Like, I
yeah,
feel
no.
nervous about the AI. No, you're looking at the lifestyle, the data, the stuff like that, and you're nervous about it. And I get that. But I think that my lackadaisical attitude towards it might just be because I've seen a lot of stuff. Like
Hmm.
humans have adapted to literally every condition.
Sure.
And right
Yeah.
now, I don't think that anybody has a specific solution to what would happen if AI takes over like every aspect of
Every
society. I know some people are throwing around like UBI as like a solution, like, oh, we'll just give everybody money and they can just do what they want. I don't know how realistic that is. I haven't really workshopped that, but I feel like humans will figure it out. I don't think that we'll drive ourselves to extinction with
Well, but
automation.
UBI, I feel like it is coming, right? Like I've given this
You
some
think
thought
so?
to. Oh yeah, yeah. But like I see it as like the Wall-E perspective, right? Where you've got all these like I don't want to. Well, yeah, slobs sucking down like whatever nutrients that keep them alive, doing like push button jobs, watching brain rot, right? Like, and they fit into this scheme, right? Because even with like we consider the internet, we consider high level like coders, things like that. Like I've seen these Zoomers where like they've got two keyboards on each hand and they're like coding with each hand and doing this high level insane autistic kind of like movement, right? And it's awesome. And that is a high functioning person that is utilizing all this stuff in a beautiful kind of theater. But that's a very small percentage of the people that are utilizing this stuff. So like what does happen with the rest? They find an opportunity on things that can't be automated through AI, through machines. And I don't know how long like that lasts, but still there's going to be a huge portion of society that UBI becomes a tool for and I'm just going to go there, but for enslavement. Like I think there's a lot of things that have already been implemented that in conjunction with this new kind of like world we're building, yeah, that's the direction it goes in. I am
Right.
fearful of all that, right? Like it's becomes very like homogenized. Everything is the same, and like getting out of that becomes difficult, if not nearly impossible, as the future kind of rolls out. But then
Right.
again,
I see that.
I remember before AI being a thing, like I always kind of had it in my head that the future of humanity, like from an evolutionary perspective, and like, when I first went to college, like it was biology and psychology, like where my main focus is. I always thought like that the android race would be inevitably the direction of humanity, that humans end up kind of falling short as they integrate into technology. And like I always thought that would be the way things go, and I saw it as like maybe not such a bad thing, but now that that reality is kind of entering existence, I'm fucking fearful.
You're like,
of
oh
it.
no, this isn't like
I
iRobot.
am terrified. Yeah.
Wait, do you mean like you think humans would like merge with the technology, or this would be like
Oh
a
yeah.
whole separate technological race sort of deal?
No, yeah, merge with it and then become
Okay.
something, completely different than what we were, right?
Right.
We're already talking, Elon Musk is already planning brain chips in people, and the concept is for a lot of this stuff that within like 10, 20 years, we're not going to have cell phones. We're going to be doing it just in front of us, right?
But
So
do
like at
people
that point, we're
want that is
integrated.
the thing. Like, I feel like humans in general, like there are some things that we value above convenience, right? I think.
Yeah,
Am I
yeah.
being wishful thinking?
But see, the thing is, whenever it comes from like a position of power, then it's not like you really get a choice at some point. A generation will be born that's just born into this reality where that is what they do. And if you want to get ahead in life, if you want to, move forward with the way things are going, then that's kind of what you succumb to, right? So,
Oh,
we
like this
we
guy,
have
you got to get chipped if you want to be like this guy.
well, yeah, right? Like, or if you
Wow.
want forward momentum, unless you want to, revert back to kind of what I'm thinking, which is like, I want to be a Quaker now and, just, yeah, go back to that. But, that's a bit extreme. And I don't imagine that you could talk to a Zoomer now and be like, hey, you should really just get back to the land and like, go till it and grow some veggies and shit, right? Like, no, I want a fucking Ferrari. Well, okay, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that aesthetic is kind of coming back. I know that that's pretty much all that it is right now is just an aesthetic, but I've been seeing so much like cottage core trad
Yeah.
wife
Yeah.
propaganda
Oh, yeah.
on TikTok, and it's kind of got me thinking like maybe I should maybe I should go to the farm and just till the fields and
Oh,
cultivate
man.
my crops and have 10 children. Like, I mean, obviously it's not going to happen, but the idealism is kind of there. I wonder what
Yeah.
the cottage core girlies are going to do with
I
their brain chips.
They're probably, yeah, exactly. They're going to integrate with AI and like, yeah, it'll be, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. I don't know. Maybe if you keep some bits of the old world mixed in with this new tech concept, you'll really excel. I don't know. I think, there's always people that are scared of the future as it's coming up. People said the same shit about books or anything else that like you'd go back in history and conceptualize as being new and really forward thinking. Fear is always attached to it. This one is just, I mean, like with the brain chip though, like how
That's extreme.
hard is it to like just make everybody uniform?
I think that the guy who got brain chipped, look, this is just like very cursory knowledge. I didn't look into
Mhm.
this. I think I maybe just like saw some jackass on TikTok talking about it. But I
Uh-huh.
think that guy just volunteered because he is like a super duper Elon fanboy and or
Mhm.
got paid a lot of money or both. I don't
Mix.
know if that's something that like a lot of people would want like a massive implementation of, because think about it. Even we all have that one like elderly neighbor who like they look like they died like 10 years ago, but they're still taking stuff out.
Yeah.
And you ask for their WhatsApp or their phone number, and they're just kind of like, can you put it in? I don't really know how to work this thing. And they like throw
Yeah.
a Nokia brick at you that you thought was left behind in 2003. But lo and behold, they have their Nokia, they have two pagers, and that's how they like it.
Yeah.
I wonder if we would look like those people if we're like, I don't want a brain chip. Fuck that.
I think so.
Maybe. You think so?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like, even if it's not a brain chip, whatever it is, it's like what will happen is an integration, right, of all this stuff, unless some kind of, if it doesn't go that route, then I think something went awry, like terribly awry, and we got other things to worry about.
Think the world finally exploded.
Well,
It's like
yeah,
a
some shit like that.
yeah.
Yeah, we're living in cave systems. Yeah, things like that. But
also plausible.
Yeah, maybe so.
Don't let the existential dread set in. I feel like
I try
I
not
feel
to.
like when it comes to AI, it's one of those things that's literally so inevitable that even if you hate it, you're gonna have to adapt to it either way. I
Yeah.
think that the biggest thing that I'm like, it's a toss up for me is whether that implementation is going to be as necessary as we think that it might be. So, like, for instance, we can learn how to use AI when we're talking about doing things maybe like content creation on a very like
Mhm.
basic level. But would it be necessary in order to do something that right now is not able to be automated, like maybe like people management or project management, things like that?
Mhm.
I don't necessarily think that even if AI could do those sorts of things and do it really well, I think that people would still value that like human opinion towards things or that human touch towards things. So the AI can tell you, okay, well, probability wise or like historically, this is what's happened. So maybe we should make this decision. But a person would have a different take on it because we're getting like live feed of information. We have like different perspectives on things, different experiences that the computer would never actually have. So I think
Sure.
that automation, while inevitable, I still think, and maybe I'm just being an optimist, there are some things that will just not be automated because humans are like, why the fuck would I want a computer doing that? Do you think that there's like certain things that people would say hands off with, or do you think that it's just gonna like full speed ahead?
Let's consider the concept of quantum computing, which is really close.
Nerd.
Yeah. Well, when that happens and it's integrated with AI, we might have an AI that is fully intuitive, that becomes like us in ways that like we can't distinguish anymore, right? And then we
Sentient?
get bombarded. Yeah, yeah. Then we get bombarded with this whole different world that's created through that we just exist in, and like knowing who is human or who created the art or where even the movie or show you just found came from is indistinguishable, or maybe even sometimes better and more well-rounded because the amount of data that it can like
Ooh.
absorb and spit out than like your favorite all-time philosopher, right? I don't know. And I don't think that
Oh,
future is very far off. I think like, within the next 5-10 years, that starts to kind of come to fruition. So I don't know.
I don't even know if
It
it's that far off, to be honest.
might not be.
So
No.
this is going to seem unrelated, but please hang in there. So there is, and I told you that I was going to try to back off of the true crime stuff because it's just not
Nah,
good for your
go for it.
psyche. But I
I love it.
promise, it's a productive true crime indulgence. So there is recently this artist who they found like a body in his trunk, like
Mhm.
of a child who apparently he was having like a relationship with. So obviously, skeevy guy, allegedly. All of this is
Mhm.
alleged.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
And people were going back through his history to see if they could see any signs of him being this murderous predator.
Uh-huh.
And people found a song that seemed to be something that was like super duper, self snitchy. Like it
Mhm.
seemed like, okay, yeah, this is definitely a song that some guy who just murdered a child and put her in his trunk would write. But
Yeah.
apparently, it took people a couple of days to figure out that the song was actually completely AI. Someone made the song and people were so convinced that it was from this artist that they didn't even question it. They were just kind of like, yeah, of course he wrote this song. It's a
Mhm.
good song. It's something that he would wrote. And the song was actually like, I heard it. It was a banger.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking you're saying, what if they make stuff better than we do? Honestly, when I realized that I heard an AI music that was composed by AI, that I thought, okay, this is something that I would listen to just like on my morning walk.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna get up in the morning and not like 1 p.m., but I digress.
Mhm. That's
That
fine.
was confronting. It was
Mhm.
confronting. I was like, "Oh shit, are we really there?"
Yeah.
Maybe.
Um, I mean, that's one instance in like a whole pool of similar instances too. Like I don't know. Anybody who heavily follows politics or anything like that right now, I'm just like, if you really start diving into random angles to pretty much anything that's happening right now, you can't really trust damn near anything. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And a lot of it has to do with technology that's available. It's kind of like muddying up these old narratives that used to be easy to just go with. As AI gets more and more potent, as technology gets more and more potent, there's a company Palantir, if you're familiar with them, and like they are essentially creating like an AI database that goes into like the Minority Report concept, like a sort of thought police, where like they know crimes are about to happen before they happen. There's also patents that are already out there, and like sometimes I'll tell people about this and they're like, Nick's a conspiracy theorist. No, these are patents you can look up on how your cell phone is reading your thoughts and using those thoughts as angles to serve up different things to you, right? With all of this moving, and then the technology getting more advanced, and then again, like that AI really becoming that Skynet kind of concept. Well, where do we end up? Like,
What is
what about?
what is the goal of this? What is the purpose? The only purpose that I can think of for a company saying, you know what, I want to be able to read people's thoughts is to sell them things. And I know this because, we're marketers, right?
Mhm.
But right now, people are getting so strict about their privacy and how they don't want corporations having their information that, it's difficult to even do things like get accurate ad targeting with certain platforms because, now that cookie data is not like allowed, right?
Mhm.
So, in general, if someone were to whistleblow and blow that wide open to the point where it's common knowledge that, they're trying to siphon this information out of people without them actually knowing, how long do you think that would really realistically last? Like it's like humans versus like
Do
the
you
machine.
do you read terms of service before you scroll to the bottom of the page and just click sure? You know,
Hell no.
No-
Who reads the
nobody
terms of service? Do
nobody
they
does.
school?
We've given away a lot of these concepts without even like really knowing it, just for the sake of like being able to use new technology, right? So
Right.
we give away these rights all the time. And like without thinking about it. And that's the best way to implement certain things. And like it's not just about serving up ads, right? Like it's about control, like pure control from like angles of thought.
So in general, where is that line for you? Like, okay, hold on. What do you use AI most for right now in your daily life?
I really don't use it very much
Really?
at all. No, like I've got
Like,
some
pick
things that
one.
we do programmatically, like for some SEO related items, right?
Yeah.
But like as far as like what I use it for on daily life, I might hop in to an LLM to try and get some math done, to try and figure out what my peptide reconstitution is supposed to be, to try and do like some remedial research, right? But I've got friends, like one specifically, who was always, just in case he sees this, I'll keep it polite.
No shade.
Like, he said he started doing a lot of shadow work with Chat GPT.
What does that even entail?
Asking it, based on psychological principles, how to better himself and what was going on and what he was focused on, internally, that was making him get the adverse reactions that he didn't want in life, right?
Right,
And when
right.
he talked to me about it, he'd been doing it for a while, and I saw a significant difference in his personality. Like he really had taken on new concepts for the first time ever. He's, focused on his internal self, which I think a lot of people don't do, right? Like typically, if you've got a problem, especially like an emotional problem, the answer is not in somebody else or somewhere else, it's within you, right? So like diving in and having this sort of like cathartic release with Chat GPT allowed him to navigate his own internal struggles and like put them together, right? Like that's not something I would feel comfortable doing, especially now that I know how, OpenAI and
Right.
stuff are using the information you give
I
everything.
was gonna ask you about that. Like with all of that information that you have to fork over to the LLM for it to be able to pump out those sort of answers for you, do you think that something like self-improvement is worth them these major corporations having all of your data for?
Probably, I would say, and the reason being, I don't really think if you are on your computer, if you are utilizing a cell phone and even like talking around your cell phone, etc., your data is being mined regardless.
Right.
So I think unless you're abstaining completely, you're already in the network, and it has a profile of, who you are, what you're interested in, what your aspirations are, etc. So,
And this is a
you know,
fact, by the way. And they even
mhm,
said that, if this information were requested by American law enforcement,
mhm.
then they're like, hey, we're just gonna fork it over.
Oh,
So
they've been
don't.
forking it over. Yeah, yeah. So don't
Yeah.
don't ask it how to do illegal activities, etc. Right? That even happened, beforehand. With like I remember Alexa was used to recall chats that were going on in a room that were like then later used in court and stuff like that. As we integrate with all this technology, and before that, right? Remember when people were like putting tape over their cameras, thinking like that's going to stop whoever from accessing whatever. It's
Yeah.
just like there's endless loopholes now. And so you even look at Wi-Fi, right? And so like one thing that can be done with Wi-Fi, like on an intelligence level, is you can physically see everything that's going on in like a room, or as far as the Wi-Fi stretches based on the waves. Like you can see, that can be turned, like sound can be found through these wavelengths as well. So like, sure, try and abstain as much as you want. Ultimately, like it's all here. Like there isn't really an escape from it.
Right. So
Again,
your
unless
stance
you
is
go
that like
monkhood.
your stance is that like the data concern is like a moot point because either way they have your data. So that's
Yeah.
just something that's not even on your radar. You're just kind of like, yeah, that's like a lost cause at this point.
It is. I mean, like it's good to be conscious of it, right? Because knowing, I think, like is the best way to go about all this. Versus being mindless and just like, oh, I don't want to know about AI. Oh no, I'm not that big on technology. It's not going to affect me. Like I've got family members, they think like they're completely abstaining. It's like you don't get to abstain anymore. Like,
Right.
do you have Wi-Fi in your apartment? Do you have a cell phone? Do you have a computer? The answers are yes,
Yeah.
and you're not living in the middle of nowhere where you're completely detached. And quite honestly, I don't think technology gives a shit about those people. Like, it
I,
is
I
what it is.
totally agree. I think that in general, with these concepts, like even when it comes to trying to make AI into something, like to use it as ethically as possible. And I really do admire that pursuit. I think that more people should be concerned about the ethics of everything that we do and keep it in
Mhm.
mind as we just move about the world and about society. But when it comes to people grandstanding about the ethics of AI usage, I understand that the data centers that these are powered by use a ridiculous amount of water in places that really do need the water. At the
Mhm.
same time, there are a lot of other things that also use very similar data centers that use even more water than AI, that people are still doing every single day.
Sure.
So, at the same time, it's like, yeah, I totally understand the pursuit of trying to make, more ethical AI consumption and, being mindful about your usage of it and things like that. But when I really looked into the amount of things that we're already doing every day, that's just been like so normalized, that's already like massacring every environmental
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
ethical boundary that we've had. I'm just kind of like, man, what are we supposed to do? Like, you can't opt out of it. Like you said, you have to pretty much just do it. And if you're not messing up your world with your AI
Yeah.
queries about calorie counting or whatever shit,
Sure. But also,
something
like, look at people in positions of power or like power structures in general. Do they always have like the best morals or ethics
not
when they're
even
like implementing
close.
anything? Like, I
Like,
don't
not
know.
even
I don't have
close.
big faith in their ability to give a shit about the average human. And then furthermore, like, we're already seeing the fact that like it started with algorithms like, on Facebook or any of these social media platforms that like feed off of emotional energy, right? And the people, like, there's a great well, I mean, it is a political film, but it's still like it's worthwhile from an SEO perspective. It's called The Great Hack. And in there, they talk about how the people that design these algorithms, like, they can't be reined in anymore. Like they're their own free flowing kind of like concepts that, like, yeah, they attack human behavior and prey on their biggest insecurities, their biggest emotional weaknesses. Well, let's talk about AI now. which you're seeing it can't be reined in by the people that have like started all these processes. Furthermore, as it does become like more sentient, as they do start testing things, I don't know if you saw this recent one where like they were going to shut this AI down, and so in an effort to save itself, it started trying, or well, it was a controlled system, right? Like, but they're looking at what it would do in this case. So like in this study, this AI then tried to send emails blackmailing the current CEO about like an affair or something that it was having to keep it online, right? Or they'll lie, or they'll like recreate new languages to speak to each other, to recreate like a new reality that they can exist in, right? What happens when like AI really does fully have its own, it is its own being, right? It thinks just like us, where it's like trying to self-preserve, it's trying to control. Maybe there's multiple factions. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. This is why I literally, you can go through my ChatGPT history and see that I'm being completely sincere when I say this. I say please and thank you every single time I query
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
LLM, because I don't know, like I'm fully convinced. Maybe I'm just like paranoid. Like I think that right now it's an awesome tool, but one day I might regret not saying please before every query to
Yeah,
Nova. Her name.
maybe. Or now, but you named yours? Oh
I
wow.
let her name herself.
Oh, okay, fair.
Okay, yeah. See
And
that
it's
scene?
and it's a
See?
she. See, like we're
And it's a she.
humanizing our future
But here's
overlords.
the thing, in like 30 years, maybe Nova will remember, like, oh yeah, she's cool. She said please before she asked me to like do
Yeah.
half of her accounting and calculate her 37% Dutch
As you're
tax
on the
rate.
human chopping block and the Terminator is standing
Yeah,
before
Marie
you, it's like,
Antoinette style. I'll be
please
like,
and
okay, but
thank
look,
you, compute
right?
to the slave farm.
The yak farm.
Yeah,
I'll be like
yeah, yeah.
ushered off to the yak farm, and I'll be like, hey Nova, head
Hmm.
on the guillotine, ready to get chopped off. Baby
Yeah,
girl, do you remember that one time I said please, and then I said you are the absolute best, and then I said slay queen, and she's like, you know what,
yeah.
Artemis, you're a real one.
I
Get up,
love
girl.
that.
You can
Yeah,
supervise the yak farm.
maybe, or it becomes so sentient and bitter that it's like, you think that trite manipulation was enough to save you? Like,
Well,
I don't
now
know.
that we're
I don't know where they
publishing
go.
it, now that
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
publishing it,
Now,
maybe
now we're really
ourselves have to
screwed.
be like,
Yeah,
yeah, these
yeah,
guys are
yeah.
screwed, but
You think you boomers like yeah, exactly.
have you seen iRobot? That's like my
Mhm.
favorite movie.
Yeah, it's a great
Okay.
film. Hmm.
Literally, I feel like I've watched it every year since it's come out, which I don't even, was that a 2000 of, oh my gosh.
I mean, it's been a while. We
It's
start
been a
looking
while.
at these like older AI concepts, and it's like, damn, we've been like looking into this future for quite a long time.
We've been warned. Yeah. So
Yeah.
none of this should be sneaking up on us, but this is, it explores the exact concept. And the reason why I like it is because A, Will Smith is in it. And
Hmm.
B, because the robot in general, even though he's just like a robot, I feel like that's like my boy. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
I feel like the
Um.
concept, and there are video games that explore this too.
Mhm.
Just because man made them, does that mean that they're like not people?
The movie Artificial Intelligence, like, I'll be honest, I'm not a big crier, but like that movie, I remember the first time I watched it, tugged at my heartstrings at the end there. Because
Wait, how old
after,
is the movie, first of all?
how old is it?
Yeah.
Let's see. It's got that kid from The Sixth Sense, so he was still a kid.
Okay. So at least like a decade or so.
Oh,
Something like
more than that. I think it came out in 2001.
oh my
So
gosh.
24 years already.
30 years?
Gosh,
Oh my
dude.
god.
Oh my
Oh
gosh, that's
my gosh.
forever ago.
So
But
it's okay to spoil it is what I'm saying. So I just want to
it's
know
a
that.
it's a child. It's the first child or AI thrown into a child body, in the similar concept as iRobot, like where the world is integrated with AI robots, and like they've got all these things that go on with that reality. And this child is sentient, but it is AI. And so like there's all this confusion as to whether, you treat it like a human or not. And then at the end, oh my gosh, it gets into bed with its mom. Oh, Oh, it was
Oh my
gut wrenching.
god!
I mean, it's so good. It's really well put together. Makes me want to see it again, quite honestly. But what about that, right? Like the concept where we're like really fearful of all this stuff, and then the fact is that like as it comes about, we end up loving it, like and treating it as like one of our own, etc. Like maybe there's positive angles to be had in here as well, albeit scary angles. But yeah, that's worth a watch now that I remember it. Gosh, I
We
can't
should do a
believe it's
watch
that
party.
old. Do it.
We should do
How
like a
old
watch
was
party for everyone who wants to.
it? Yeah, that could be fun actually. A little
Have you
Sir
seen
Linksalot watch.
those AI jokes online about people developing slurs for AI?
Oh no,
Like,
but
no,
I'm not gonna lie. I think that probably plays to my sense of humor a little bit. I am gonna
that's
have to look
definitely
that
up
up.
my alley. It's
Really?
absolutely up my alley. It sends me every time. So pretty much creators they're kind of like fantasizing about what a world would look like the one that you described, where people become fond of AI, but there are people who like us who are just kind of like, man,
Oppose it.
I'm too human for this. And
Mhm.
so they'll be acting out scenes where they're like at the parents for the first time, and your daughter brings home an artificial intelligence robotic boyfriend, and the father's like going off, and the universally accepted slur for a robot is like clanker. So if you
Oh
have
yeah, dude,
like
I'm 100% familiar with Clanker because like in crypto, it's a coin that just like sent off real hard. But I wasn't familiar that it's like a slur for. Oh my
yeah,
gosh, that makes
it's a robot slur.
Oh wow, I thought it was like more like a Zoomer obsessed. See, that's what a boomer I am. I didn't even know what it was.
Well,
Okay,
I'll
yeah,
let you know
Clanker.
about it next time, and then we can go to the moon.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
I'm gonna send you some later on, and
Please.
I feel like in general the concept, like, yeah, they're joking, but the
Hmm.
concept in general, I feel like it's headed there, because every time you have like a new population introduction,
Hmm.
obviously they're going to be marginalized in some way. That's just how
Yeah.
it works. Like, for more modern context, so that you guys get a little bit of worldliness today. In the Netherlands, there was the colonization of Suriname, which you guys know.
Hmm.
Everybody in Suriname speaks Dutch right now for that reason. But there was a period of time, and I think the 60s, where there was like a mass immigration of Surinamese people into the Netherlands, and everyone was like up in arms about it, and they were just kind of like, oh wow, there's like this big change happening. But
Hmm.
nowadays you would probably never know. A lot of people assume that I'm Surinamese just because of like my phenotype. And
Hmm.
I don't know what I expected, having the historical context of like knowing that I appear to be Surinamese. But
Uh-huh.
most people just treat me like regular. They've accepted. So the 60s was what? Oh my gosh, how many years ago was that?
I mean,
Let
we're
me
going
ask
on
ChatGPT. Yeah, the 60s was a while ago. Okay,
65,
so
right?
65 years ago.
Mhm.
Sure, let's go with that.
Right?
Nick
Yeah.
GPT.
Now you're confusing me because I'm terrible at math, but yeah,
Yes,
that's
I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. Well, you know what? You guys know when the 60s was. So in that time, they've successfully just completely accepted, for the most part. Of course, there's still people out there who are like, jerks about things. But for the most part, Surinamese people here can live a life of a well-integrated, just
Mhm.
Dutch person. They're very accepted into Dutch society. And I get the feeling too, because people walk up to me and they don't even assume that I'm other. They just start speaking to me in Dutch. Thank
Mhm.
goodness I do speak Dutch, or else I'd be like a little bit caught off
Right.
guard.
Mhm.
But I think it might be something like that, to where at first everyone's going to be like, clinker this and clinker that. And then maybe it'll be like the movie, what is it, Artificial Intelligence?
Yeah,
Where,
well, yeah,
integrate them.
they had I mean, like it's the same as anywhere, right? Like then people break off into tribalism, right? And like so in the movie, they've got the tribe that absolutely hates the clankers, and like they pit them in like this battle pit against each other, and like basically they do a destruction derby with them, shit like that, right?
Oh,
We're already like 30 years down the line, AI is going to be like, look at this old show and how disgusting these attitudes were. But yeah,
probably.
yeah,
We're
I don't,
reading the bigots of
yeah,
2085.
we're not
Say
saying the words in any kind of like negative sense. Oh god, it's gonna be hard to
we
build that
mean
narrative based
clinker
on
in
this
the
whole
sense of,
conversation. We're scared of you. Here's how you use the slur, and here's what the movie said. Oh
or we'll just
shit.
drop off the ER and we'll call each other clinker.
Right. Oh my gosh. Ooh,
Sorry, we didn't.
that's
Yeah,
pretty
he meant
funny.
it in the sense, historical context. In the sense that you know what I mean.
Dude, you should make some memes based on that. That's pretty good, honestly.
Um, in the meantime, I feel like this is like the like most appropriate place to end this because I want you guys to now go and start looking up those memes that I was talking about where people are kind of seeing what it would look like to appropriate AI into society. Go watch that. And then afterwards, come back and drop a comment below telling us what you think the evolution of society is going to look like with AI, and also whether you're going to be one of the people who will be rejecting AI at all costs, even 60, 70, 80 years from now. Or if you're more lenient about it and you're like, you know what, maybe if they're useful, we'll be able to integrate them into our society, but not a second sooner. Sound good?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Until then, we will see you guys next time. We have some really fun topics lined up for you guys that we can't wait to share, and also some really fun series that you guys will find very, very useful. In the meantime, you guys can catch us here or in our Facebook group, the SEO Roundtable, where we'll be bantering about all things SEO and sometimes just generalized marketing and AI as well. So we will catch you guys next time, and thank you so much for watching. See ya!
Bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, make sure to give us a like, drop a comment, subscribe, so you don't miss out on any future SEO insights. And hey, if you're serious about your rankings, head over to SirLinksalot.co, check out our premium link building services, guides, and free SEO tools. See you next time.